How's it going?
All right, sorry about that. We just got to take turns. I don't want to do like too many at
Yeah.
once. Sometimes at the end we bring a bunch of people up and just kind of see how it goes. But what's your name and age and religion?
Yeah, my name's Nick. I'm 23. I'm a Christian.
All right. Well, the Christian God I think is make believe. Did you have some evidence to suggest otherwise?
Yeah, I could provide a syllogism if you want for the first mover.
Okay.
Okay, so premise one is going to be when something undergoes change, it is caused to do so by something. Premise two, nothing can be the cause of its own change, since something cannot have a quality of both potentiality and actuality at the same time. Premise three, whenever something changes, this change must have been brought about by something other than that thing, which follows from premise one and two. Premise four, the chain connecting things which change and things which initiate changes cannot be infinite. Conclusion, there is a first mover which initiates change, but itself is not changed. So which premise do you disagree with?
Can it change itself?
No, that's the point, because something cannot have both potentiality and actuality at the same time.
I know. I mean, God can't change himself.
No, we don't believe God has potentiality.
He can't like change his mind or anything.
Yeah, no, we believe the only time in the Bible when it uses those words is talking about using anthropomorphic language.
What do you mean we? Who's with you?
We, as in Christians.
Oh, a lot of Christians say different stuff, though. I don't know if you should speak for all Christians.
I go by the interpretation of the fathers.
Oh, like church fathers and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and so this first mover is Jesus?
Yeah.
Okay, show that part.
Yeah, well then, so once we accept that God must exist, then we can go into which religion would be the true religion.
Well, hold on. You said a first mover must exist.
Yeah, the first mover is what we define as God. Or God.
That's the part I'd reject then.
Okay, so what do you reject? So do you accept the premises and the conclusion at least?
Yeah, I just think that like the first mover is like a natural process that doesn't have a mind or anything.
Yeah, so if it's a natural process which doesn't have a mind, how does it actually will something to occur?
It doesn't will it. Just it's the natural process. Because in order to will something, you have to change. You have to like have not willed it and then start willing it. That's a change.
Right. So yeah. For something to occur, though, something must cause it to occur. So my question is,
well, not with nature.
Exactly
Nature is the first mover. It's uncaused.
If nature's the first cause, then what you're saying is that
it's
nature
uncaused.
I'm
not saying it's the first cause. I'm saying it's uncaused.
Yeah. That's with nature's uncaused. So then you're going to hold what do you hold, the B theory or A theory of time?
B.
Oh, okay. So then you don't believe that time really exists.
I just think that time is like happening everywhere all at once. I also like proudly say I have no idea what the fuck time is. If you want to like break it down for me, you can, but I don't know if I can
hold the A
understand
theory
it.
of time. I believe time is linear. Do you disagree that time is not linear?
I don't know.
Well, you said you hold the B theory of time. What do you think B theory of time is?
Just that all moments of time are like equally valued, like they all hold the same weight.
Well, B theory of time is that
because infinity is true, then all things are like not happening simultaneously, but they're all like have and have not happened together, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So B theory would be that it is happening together. Everything is happening simultaneously.
And is that Jesus?
No, Jesus is not time itself.
Where's Jesus?
What do you mean? Where is he?
Like you said you were going to do the Jesus part. Why are we talking about time?
Oh, yeah, because I said first we have to establish that God exists.
Oh, okay, yeah, you were going to do that. So do I have to believe in A theory in order to accept that God exists?
Oh, I just think I think you would have to believe in A theory regardless. I think B theory is illogical.
Okay, well, does it matter if it's A theory or B theory, or could God exist in either one?
Well, I don't think that God could exist in an illogical world. I don't think illogical worlds could possibly exist. Okay,
so you think that
I think A theory is
God being the uncaused first mover that is a brainless mind in nothingness is the logical conclusion here under your view. Is that what you're saying? And then we go, oh, hold on. There's a comment in chat here. Oh, just went by. Okay. Someone will get a screen grab of that. That's fine. Okay, and so then, so now we all believe in God, even though I think like it's just like maybe a mind is a hard thing. Can you do that part? Do you have a syllogism to prove that there's a mind?
Prove there's a mind for what?
Yeah, like God has a mind?
Yeah, I think that a mind is necessary for something to come into existence out of nothing. For something to cause something to come into existence out of nothing, it can't just be merely.
Wait, you think something can come from nothing?
Yes, I believe that God can create something from nothing. Wait, do you disagree? Do you think the universe is infinite?
I think that's more likely, but I don't know for sure. I don't know about something coming from nothing. How does that work?
There's going to be an issue with the universe being infinite. So if the universe is infinite, then you would have to say, for example, well, there's going to be a couple of different issues. Number one, there's a scientific issue, but number two, there's also a philosophical issue as well. The philosophical issue would be that if the universe goes back eternally far, how do we ever get to this point?
Oh, I don't know.
It's logically impossible because if time goes infinitely far back, we could have never gotten to this point.
Do you think time goes infinitely far forward?
Time goes infinitely far forward?
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily. I think that we'll be outside of time eventually.
Wait, you think time's gonna like end?
Yeah, time is just referring to a theory of change. I think there'd be a point.
So at some point, everything's going to stop changing, and it'll be like static.
Yeah, I think that we will stop having passive potency. We can still have active potency, but none of us will have passive potency.
What does active potency mean?
So passive potency and active potency, the difference is to cause a change in another or to cause a change in yourself.
But you need time for either one.
Yeah, so I'm saying for us, I believe that time will stop in the sense that we won't have passive potency, but we could still have active potency.
But we wouldn't still be able to actively be potent because that would still require time.
What would be the logical contradiction with interacting with time without being in time?
There is no time to interact with.
No, I'm saying that there is time, but we are outside of time interacting with time.
Okay, so time will keep going then.
Yeah, I'm saying for us, we will be outside of time.
Right, that's fine. I don't care about us. I'm saying, will time continue eternally forward?
Yes.
Okay, you said it was going to stop at some point. That's why I was confused.
No, yeah, I'm in the point of passive potency for us, yes.
I don't know why you're bringing all of us up. I'm just talking about like time going on forever.
Yeah, I'm making the distinction between passive and active potency. So
okay. Unrelated, but time will go on forever in the future. Like there will be a potential for change eternally from now on.
Yeah.
Was there a potential for change eternally backwards?
No.
So there was a time where God exists but could not have started the universe?
No, I just said I don't believe ever that God can change passively. I believe that time started simultaneously with him creating the universe.
Right. Before that, could he have done it sooner?
Yes, because time is a measurement of change. So at the point where he decides to activate or change something or actualize something, then time begins.
How could he decide if he was unchanging?
Yeah, it's not
like the whole thing of like if he was eternally capable of being able to will it into existence and he's unchanging, then at the point where he willed it into existence, he must have eternally willed it, which means it should have started eternity ago.
No, yeah, we believe that God, that actually exists in potential eternally. It's just not actualized to a certain point. And that point is when it itself, time, begins.
How did that work? Like what was before time?
It would just been things in potential.
Was God static?
No.
That doesn't make any sense to me. So there was no time, but he was changing?
No, he still had active potency. Being static would mean you don't have active potency either.
So he could have changed, but he didn't want to yet.
That's not what active potency is. No, active potency, again, is the ability to change another. If you can change another, that's not static.
So he could have started the universe, but he wasn't yet?
No, we believe they existed eternally in potential. But those things, since he's out of time, there's not a specific time in which he started it. There's only a specific time in which it was actualized.
But God existed eternally before that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But you got to understand, again, there's no...
So how did he ever, since it was infinite time before he started the universe, how did the universe ever come to be?
Because it was actualized. It was always existing.
Oh, that's what I think too. This moment was actualized.
Yeah, but the issue is...
Okay, we agree on that at least. Like we both have a weird infinite regress to deal with, but none of us really know everything, but we have different dealings with it.
Because I don't believe time goes back.
You just said time went, or God was eternal.
Yes, and I just said that I don't believe that he existed within time.
Okay.
So again, the issue that you're going to
the concept of nature existed before time. Oh, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So now make it Jesus. Now we believe in a prime mover. Now make it Jesus.
So do you concede to atheism?
Yeah. We all concede. We all believe in a prime mover. Now make it Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. So then how we know it's going to be Jesus is based on multiple things. We're going to look at multiple religions and see which one is going to be the most logical religion. And if we look at the Trinity,
Why do we, sorry to interrupt, why do we have to assume one of the religions is right? Could it be that there's like 90 million more religions that are still going to be made in the future and one of those could be right?
Yeah, you would have to show that their metaphysical certainty. When I can show the metaphysical certainty of the Trinity.
Well, why are you talking about checking the other religions when we haven't checked them all yet?
Okay, you can bring me any religion you want. I can show.
No, I'm saying not even. There's religions that haven't even been invented yet that could be
because
closer
if
to
you
being
show
correct.
the metaphysical necessarity with a certain thing, such as the metaphysical construct of the Trinity,
We can't show them yet. They haven't been invented yet.
what has the Trinity hasn't been invented yet? Hey, bro,
Lock in with me, buddy. Nick, pay attention to what I'm saying. You said we have to check all the religions and see which one is the most right. Did you say something like that?
Yeah, I said we can. Yes.
Is that part of your argument, or is it unrelated?
That would just be doing due diligence. You don't necessarily.
But Nick,
have to.
you're pretending like we've exhausted all possible religions.
Yeah, the entire.
But we
the
don't
entire-
have all possible religions.
Yeah, the entire.
You don't
point
even
of
know
it-
about lots of ancient religions that came and went before like written history.
Yes, the entire
not
point.
to mention all the future religions that are going to spawn up.
Right. Okay, if something is metaphysically certain, do you have to view other potential things that could possibly exist?
No, then why'd you bring it up? Can you at least like say, I regret bringing that up, let's move past it? Because it was a weird thing
I
to
think
say.
what you meant, Nick, it seems like what you meant
also illogical.
what you meant was that Christianity is the only logical possibility. That's I think what you really meant.
Yes, that's what
So
I'm
just
saying.
say
That's why I
that
said-
then.
That's why I said we could show every other religion is illogical.
You can't do that.
I mean, I can't.
All right, show me right now that a future religion that hasn't been invented yet is illogical.
Yeah, if it hasn't been invented yet, then by definition it hadn't existed eternally. Therefore, it cannot be a true religion and a true
You
God.
think the religion has to have existed eternally?
Yes. What? What are you
Christianity hasn't existed eternally.
talking about, bro?
I
Christianity.
love that. Okay, no, I love that.
Christianity is
Okay,
simply the
I
meaning
love
of
that. That's
following
great. Okay,
Christ.
so now,
Christ
yeah, show us your
existed.
eternal religion. Go
That
ahead.
eternally existed.
Which was the first religion?
Yes, it was the follower of the Trinity, following the Trinity.
And which religion was that?
Christianity.
That's the first religion that was invented?
Yes.
Okay, and when was that?
What do you mean? When was it invented?
Yeah, like what year was it?
I don't think Christianity is necessarily invented. I think Christianity has always existed in virtue of the Trinity.
Let's look that up. Let's get a source on that. When did
Here,
Christianity start? First century.
So how can
Can I get a source that says it was before that?
Yeah, I can show you stuff from the Dead Sea Scrolls to show you that they, in fact, follow Christ.
Sure. And when were the Dead Sea Scrolls written?
Our earliest date goes back to 250 BC, but most scholars know that things from the Torah were written before that. So
Right. So when was it first being written about?
Sounds like a starting
what, the
date.
Torah? Yeah, it's a starting date for the actual prophets themselves speaking about it.
And so that's when the religion started?
No, I didn't say that. You said that it started in what?
Your job is to show us. Your job is to show us that it's eternal, buddy. You have to show us the religion is eternal.
Yes, I just gave you a logical conclusion. If the Trinity always existed eternally, then by definition, Christianity, which is involving the Trinity,
Oh well,
eternally existed.
that's as far as you know right now. But there could be a future religion that's going to make the same claim that whatever their particular God has always existed. So that will also be an eternal religion.
If it's a
so your claim
religion,
your claim to an eternal religion fails.
You just made a logical error. You just said that it's a future religion, so by definition, you are saying that
I'm
it
saying
does not
revealed in the future, but always
it'll have
having
been
existed.
correct, yeah.
Silly
Just
boy.
like yours,
You
right?
know
exist.
what
If it's
I mean.
revealed in the future, how do you know it always existed?
Same with
That's a
yours.
really
Yours
good
was
point.
only
That's a great-
revealed in like
I think that's
200.
a mic drop right there. That's a really good point. Yeah.
I mean, it's
So-
really not. I can give metaphysical certainty again from things like the laws of logic and them having to exist eternally with God. So, for example, do you think the law?
I have one here that says,
I'll just give you an
here's a
example.
religion that says, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real, naming the origin of all particular things. So the
I'll give you an
Tao
example.
claims to be eternal, and so it actually goes back farther than Christianity. So why don't you believe that?
I'll give you an example. So, do you think the laws of logic eternally exist?
Yeah, probably, but not like written down.
Okay, and where do concepts exist?
I don't know.
You don't know you don't know that concepts exist in the mind?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I don't know if they exist outside of that. I don't
Okay,
know.
but we know they exist in the mind, merely in the mind.
Yeah, I think that some things exist in some people's mind and not in others.
Okay, do actual laws of logic, are they
Like, not every mind understands logic. Would you agree?
That understands it, yes, but it's still objective truth, correct?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So just because a mind is involved, it doesn't make it true or false.
Great, but I'm asking, are they objectively true concepts?
Can I don't know if we want to go into this mezzo. We can if we want to have fun, but it's going to put us in the same position of not getting to Jesus.
I mean, it's
Oh,
not.
right. Yeah,
We're
right.
talking
We've
about
already Nick, we've already said that God exists and whatever. You're trying to get us to your religion.
Yes, I'm showing you the Trinity. That's the entire point.
Oh, logic is going to bring us to the Trinity?
I love that.
Have you
Okay.
not heard the one in the
So
main?
what do you want us to say about logic?
Okay,
It was eternal from a mind?
Yes. Do you believe that
Okay.
it eternally exists? in
Yeah,
concept?
it's eternal, a concept in the mind.
So there must be an eternal mind that eternally exists, right?
Just because it's in our minds?
No, because you said logic is eternal, and that logic exists in a mind. Therefore, the conclusion.
Oh, I think the logic.
must
I think
eternally
the
exist.
laws of logic were true before minds.
Oh, before minds. So where did it exist at before minds?
They didn't exist in a place. There were non. What's the location place for temporal? What's the
How
word
does something
for that?
exist without a place?
It's what do you mean exist without a place?
Well, it
Lots of things
wasn't
exist
an
without a place.
idea. It wasn't an idea.
It wasn't an idea. It was just a true thing.
Oh, how does it? Where did it exist? Can you give me an example of something that exists without a place?
Red.
In what?
Red.
What do you mean in red?
The color red.
The color red is literally an abstract universal.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Where is it? Where's red?
Red is going to be wherever it is. For example, if I paint a red car, it's going to be on the car. Like what?
The red is on the car.
Yes.
And was there red things before we called it red?
Oh, it's the red color. Red still existed before we called it red.
Okay, so that's fine. So
And
that's what I'm saying.
and existed in a place. So red things existed on flowers, for instance. They existed on places. So now, where
Okay.
did logic exist?
But
before
they
minds?
weren't red yet.
Yes, they were. What?
They
Just
didn't
because
have
we
a name
Just
for it,
because we
right?
didn't name it red doesn't mean it wasn't what we describe as red. What we describe as red is a fluctuation of colors.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, what we describe as the laws of logic weren't like written down yet.
Yes, but it still existed.
But if
objectively
anyone
what we
ever,
define it
like,
as.
once people came about and tested them, they just figured out they were true, right?
Yeah, but it still exists into what we define them as eternally. Correct?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know about like
don't know?
concepts. Do you think they
It
exist
might
in a
be.
place?
It might be in the same way that red existed, right? Is that what you're saying, Nick?
no,
Where like
no.
red existed on a
It's hard
flower,
for-
the
it's
way
hard
that
for Nick
the
'cause he
flower.
thinks there was always a mind.
Yeah, I'm showing you there has to be. Again, how?
No, because
exactly-
like red doesn't need a mind to exist, right? Like red
because
is
it has a location.
yeah, same like that is the same for like the P. So the P that equals P, the location is the flower. Let's say
What about like happy?
that exists.
Yeah, so
and
what's
doesn't
the
also not
location?
exist.
Like, can
Yeah, so
happiness
what's the-
exist without a mind?
So what's the location of P and not P?
Maybe not.
The P is the flower. The P exists in the flower.
What's the not P? What is the not P?
I don't think logic has a location.
So, for example, the law of
I don't know. Maybe there's a Platonic form of it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so for example, the law of non-contradiction, P cannot be P and not P at the same time. Where does that exist?
I don't think it exists in a place. I don't know.
Okay, so then how does something exist?
I don't
without
think
a
it
place?
requires a mind, though.
Okay, so then where does it
I think
exist?
it
without a place?
requires reality.
Okay, if it's in reality, it has to have.
Nick, hold on a second. Hold on, Nick. Take a deep breath, dude.
What?
You're speeding up. We're okay. I want to go through this with you. I love this conversation, but like, take a breath.
I mean, I'm fine. I'm just trying to keep you guys.
I know you're fine. I know you're fine. I just
If
want
you
to take
need
a
time to
little
think about it, it's okay.
breath. I just want you to take a breath.
But I'm literally just asking a question. I'm asking where did it exist at?
And I keep telling you, I don't know.
Okay.
You tell me.
Yeah, so the point is things cannot exist without a place to exist. So, for example,
Where did God exist before there was place?
yes, we believe he was omnipresent.
Where? How can he be present when there's not a place?
When was there not a place?
Before he made it.
Yeah, we believe he's materially identical to existence itself. So that existence itself, it exists.
You're saying things like as if they make sense really quick.
Oh, sorry about that. This
Got a download going?
Yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we believe he's going to be materially identical in terms of to his existence. Or to
Okay, do you have like a proof for that or something?
What do you mean? That's just going to be a logical deduction based on God, what the God actually is in the first mover.
Oh yeah, you already believed that part. Yeah, we agreed to that.
Yeah. So again, my point is, can you name me anything that exists without a place in which it exists?
I got to think about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
What exists without a place?
Yeah.
Does gravity exist?
Yes, and gravity exists in places.
Gravity isn't a
Okay, for example, gravity exists on
Hey,
Earth.
Nick, I can answer this one. Gravity doesn't exist as a thing. It's like the concept of like what we describe as matter interacting with space-time. So it's like the interaction that's happening, right? It's not like there's a gravity. I mean, there's gravity waves and stuff, but that's not quite like
Right,
a
it's the
physical
force.
thing you can just grab.
Right, right. So, yeah, so can you, I'll just let you, if you can think of anything that exists without a place, either of you guys.
What can exist without a place?
But why? I don't understand.
So where do you think it exists, Nick?
I'm asking you guys, I just want to know if you guys can think of anything that exists out of place. That's the question I'm asking you
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, it seems to me like logic does, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be special pleading because you're saying that it does.
Oh no,
but
I
asking
mean, for example, like I think like all like imaginations things, like all things, all thoughts. It's like I know there are these synaptic processes that happen in your brains. Like you could say like it happens in the synaptic cleft. That's like where the like part of imagination happens. But like unicorns, right? Like I know that they don't really exist so far. But I think that like the concept of them does. So it's not just logic, but concepts that are true and concepts that are false.
Right. So did the concept of unicorns exist before minds?
I don't think so.
Right. So that's why concepts only exist in minds. That's my point.
Right. The concept of logic didn't exist until minds.
Okay. So then
Logic was it would have just been true fact of reality before that, but the concept didn't exist until minds.
Yeah, but the point is logic itself is a concept. It's nothing more than an objective true concept.
Okay.
So then
I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not sure.
Oh, you don't think that? So if logic didn't
It's
exist,
just I think
like
it's just
it's
a
a-
fact.
no, okay, I'll
Yeah,
give
it's
an
a
example.
way we describe reality, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'll give an example. If logic, right, did not exist before minds, then is it true then or possible that the earth could have both existed and not existed at the same time before minds?
No, because it's just a fact of reality. So
Yeah,
the
you could say
fact
it's a
was
fact
true
of-
that the earth existed, right?
Yeah, so you can say it's a fact of reality, but why does reality abide by this fact, and how do you know this fact actually exists prior to minds? And where does it exist? Those
Why
things.
does reality abide by the laws of logic?
Yes, and how do you know that these laws of logic actually exist extramental to the mind?
So that's two different questions. So I think that reality just is like how it is, and we look at reality and describe it and called it the laws of logic, right?
Yeah. My point is,
I could be wrong. Like I'm not a philosopher, dude. Like I don't know this stuff. I'm excited to learn it genuinely. I think like the first mover stuff is BS, and obviously the Jesus stuff is BS. But I am curious about how like Platonic forms exist and what it means to like exist without a place. I am like genuinely intrigued in this.
Yeah. So my point is that these things must exist, right? If they're even objective truths, objective facts, and reality, objective facts and reality need to have some sort of grounding. Right? Facts cannot exist without grounding. So this fact would
You
have
don't
to
think
have
a fact could just be the case?
no, it has to have grounding.
Why?
Well, it'd be grounded in reality if it's a fact.
Yeah,
Like, reality would be the grounding
yeah, but
for the
that's
fact.
gonna be circular though. You're saying
Because if it's not grounded in reality, then it's not a fact.
yeah, but that's gonna be.
I guess it is. Yeah, it's like a perfect circle.
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna be the issue. It's gonna be fallacy.
Yeah, it's like ideal.
That's the
It's an
same thing.
ideal
You're just
circle.
adding God into the circle, though, right?
No, I'm not. I'm actually adding a grounding that is outside of just talking about objective reality.
Do you think God is outside of logic, or does God abide by the rules of logic?
No, I believe that logic is grounded in God. That's my point.
Oh, logic is over God?
No, grounded in God. That doesn't mean it's over God.
Oh, okay. So could God change the laws of logic?
No, that's why I said it's grounded in God. If God never changes and is grounded in God, that means logic can never change.
Wait, you think everything is grounded in God?
What do you mean everything? What do you mean by? I think everything
Like
that has
all
ontology.
concepts?
I think, yeah, everything that has true ontology.
Even bad ones, like evil concepts and stuff?
Well, no, I don't think, again, it's everything that has true ontology. So true objective reality, right? So like logic.
He's going to be a privation, a good guy.
So.
Are you a privation to good? Evil's privation to good?
I mean, you could say that. I don't have an issue with it.
Is that not your view, Nick? Are you a church? Aren't you a church fathers Orthodox guy? Like, what are you pretending? Like, well, you could say that. I mean, that's your fucking doctrine, isn't it?
That's my doctrine. Can you please show me any council that states that? No,
I actually don't. I don't know enough about it.
Right,
Go
you
ahead.
don't know about it.
So what is evil?
Yeah, I believe evil is going to be anything that goes against God's will.
Okay, so is the concept of evil grounded in God?
Well, I don't think evil has ontology, so no.
Okay, so then Joel was perfectly right.
With what?
What's evil then? What's evil?
Oh, yeah, I just said evil is anything that goes against God's will.
Oh, okay.
But is it the privation of good?
No, this is perfect. Yeah, so it's a concept.
What, evil is a concept?
That's what you're saying. It's the idea of something that goes against God's will?
I mean, I think evil is an action.
Okay, so could evil exist before humans?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's talking about like angels and stuff like that, then yeah,
But God couldn't do an evil?
No, because it's going against God's will. So that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he can't do things against his
own will. No.
But he made things that could go against his will?
Yeah.
So his will was to make things that go against his will?
His will was to make things that have the ability to choose freely to either align with him or align against him.
But if all these things are grounded in God, then it all has to be like the part of being omnipotent. I don't know if you hold to that. Is that everything is your will, everything that happens, right?
I hold omnipotence being able to do anything that's logically possible. Because again, I hold the laws of logic being grounded.
Right, absolutely. But like doing an evil thing is logically possible.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's logically possible that doing an evil thing is possible for God, because again, God is going to have his will. And
so you don't hold that it's logically possible. You mean logically possible for like each person.
Yeah, it's logically possible for us to do evil because evil is an action that goes against God's will.
So omnipotent just means like being yourself.
No, omnipotent means the ability to do anything that's logically possible. I don't know what you mean to be yourself, but
there's things that are logically possible that he's incapable of. The act itself is logically possible, but not for him, right?
Yeah.
So then that's a thing he can't do, but other people can do, right?
Yeah, if you mean like logically possible insofar as yourself, yeah.
Right, yeah, and so that's why I don't know if omnipotent is the right like word for that. Then.
That's typically how early philosophers use the term omnipotent, such as Aristotle. You read the 7 categories.
It just means that you can do all the stuff that you can do?
It just means that you can't do anything that could not possibly exist, right? So, like, for example, I couldn't create a squared circle.
Right.
But why could God not do the evil thing? Why is that illogical?
Yeah, because if we define evil as anything going against his will, then he can't do something.
Oh, I see. Well. Okay, so we just have to renegotiate all the language.
I mean, this is how language has been.
I want to go back to the square circle thing real quick, though, because I can't make a square circle, and God can't make a square circle. That act is illogical, right?
Correct.
I can cut a cat open for fun, but God can't cut a cat open for fun. The act itself is not an illogical thing. It's only illogical for some of us. I can't make a universe. God can. It's illogical for me, so I can't do it.
I mean, I wouldn't say. No,
am I omnipotent?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily illogical for you to create a universe. No.
Why not?
What would the law of logic would it break?
To create a universe?
Yes. What law of logic would it break?
That I can't do it? Is that one?
Yeah, what? No, that's not a law of logic. What? Do you know what the laws of logic are?
Yeah, there's 3. Are you talking about the 3?
Yes. Do you know what they are?
It's just outside of my capability, right?
Yeah, but the law of logic would mean that you could not possibly even gain the capability to do that.
Yeah, I don't think I can. Do you?
Yeah, I don't see what the logical contradiction would be.
You think I could make a universe?
Yeah, I don't see the issue with God being able to grant you the ability to create a universe.
Okay, that's interesting. So you think any human could just make a universe? That's interesting.
If God granted them the ability, yeah, there's no logical contradiction with that.
If only with God's help.
Right, yeah, because we don't have it.
That is outside of my capability. You're talking about God's capability.
Yeah, so again, things being logically impossible would be you couldn't even do it in any possible world.
Right.
Right.
No, what I'm saying is, like, on my own, because when you're talking about God, you're just talking about God. God could kill a cat for fun if I helped him, right?
If you helped him, the only way he would do that if it was something good to do.
No, if I said this is in the name of God and I helped him, then he could like do it, right? Just like he's helping me make the universe, I could help him kill a cat.
I mean, only if there's a good reason to do it. If there's no good reason to do it, then no, by definition, would be evil.
Then why is he like slaughtering children in this book?
Yeah, I hold the divine command theory. So number one, and number two, if you're talking about 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 3, I'm just going to hold to the early fathers that it's using hyperbolic language.
Oh, so he's not really doing the stuff in the book.
No, because if you actually read later on, the Amalekite children still existed.
Yeah, and they killed them.
No, they still. Can you show me where he actually went through?
Yeah, they sent them to kill them again.
Yeah, can you show me?
But you don't think that the book is true. You think it's hyperbolic, right?
Yeah, something hyperbolic.
So anything I show you in here, you're going to say, yeah, listen, Nick, anything I show you in here, you're going to say, yeah, that part's not true, right?
I'm going to hold to the interpretation of the fathers.
Okay, yeah, so then it doesn't really matter. We don't have to go to the book. You don't really believe in it. That's true. So
I do. Something, yeah, it's called a false dichotomy. Something being hyperbolic doesn't mean it's not true.
Did God ask people to kill children?
Yeah, he made the declarative sense that they should unalive everybody in the same way when I say, oh, if I'm playing a basketball and I say,
was he specific with the children part?
Yes. Which in the
he did say that?
Yes, in the same way.
But he didn't mean it?
Oh my gosh, in the same way, if I'm specific and I say I'm going to go unalive this other basketball team when I play today, my teammates aren't going to think I'm going to, pull out a pew-pew and go unalive them.
How did the church fathers know that it was? How did the church fathers know it was hyperbolic? Yeah. Do they give you a justification? Yeah, we use it based on oral tradition that comes forth from the apostles. So the apostles told hold on, Nick. So that the apostles told the church fathers that back in the day of the Amalekites that God was just using hyperbolic language.
Well, yeah.
How would they have known?
Because we believe Jesus is God and they walked with Jesus.
So Jesus was the one that was like, by the way, that was me just exaggerating, being very silly. I did not mean kill babies.
Yeah, do you think they actually did kill the babies?
No, I see no evidence of that in the Bible.
That they went and did it?
Yes.
So when it says that they did it?
Yeah, what verse are you referring to? Where they actually unalived the babies specifically? Can you pull that up?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we were just reading, right?
Yeah, because First Samuel 15:3 is going to be the command, so I'm waiting for they actually ended up doing specifically the children.
Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep, and utterly destroyed the rest of them, is what it says. All that was despised and worthless they utterly destroyed.
Oh, so they spared the sheep?
Yeah.
Interesting, because in that verse that he also said all of the livestock should also be destroyed, so why didn't they destroy that? It's almost like it was hyperbolic language.
Do you read the rest of the story?
Yes.
Saul gets in trouble for not killing the sheep.
Which verse?
The word of the Lord came to Samuel. I regret that I made Saul king, for he has turned back from following me and has not carried out my commands. Now, I know what I read here. You're going to say that's hyperbolic. We don't believe this part. Samuel was angry, cried out to the Lord all night. Samuel rose early in the morning to meet Saul, and Samuel was told, Saul went to Carmel. There's a little pause. May you be blessed by the Lord. Oh, my headphone's twitching out. I've carried out command of the Lord. But Samuel said, what? Oh, so Saul says, I have carried out the command of the Lord. But Samuel said, what then is this bleating of sheep in my ears and lowing of cattle that I hear? Saul said, they have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and the cattle to sacrifice to the Lord. But the rest we have utterly destroyed. There's your clarifying statement again there to make sure everything else is destroyed. Samuel said to Saul, stop. I will tell you what the Lord said to me last night. He replied, speak. Samuel said, though you are little in your own eyes, are you not the head of the tribe of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel, and the Lord sent you on a mission and said, go utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why did you swoop down on the spoil and do what was evil in the sight of the Lord? Swoop down on the spoil means, why did you keep some of them for yourself when they were supposed to be killed, right?
Yeah, so which thing is he talking about? Which spoil?
the cattle. And
How do you know he's just talking about the cattle?
Because a second ago he said
Explains
we heard the sheep and the cows. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah, how do you know that's the only thing he's talking about?
What do you think he's talking about?
It could be talking about literally anything. Literally keeping certain people alive. It literally could be anything.
This is the classic maybe of Christianity. They're always maybes.
No, it's not. There's no written
Yeah, well,
definition.
let's.
It's always just maybes. Yeah, you're right. Maybe there were also
let's
babies.
keep reading. If it had specifically said that like the spoil like was the sheep and the cattle, and that was like part of the spoils, then that would kind of cook us. But it didn't quite say that, so I'm going to stick with it. Saul said to Samuel, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord. I have gone on the mission on which the Lord sent me. I have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and I have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But from the spoil, the people took sheep and cattle, the best of the thing. Oh, that's the part right there. It says it right there. The best of the things devoted to destruction, and to sacrifice to the Lord your God in Gilgal. So he's saying he's going to keep the cows and sheep to sacrifice them from the spoils.
Yeah. What about it?
That's the part you just said. How do we know that the stuff was from the spoils? It said it right there.
Yeah, I agree that was part of the spoils. I'm saying, where are you saying?
Oh, okay. When you were like challenging that, it didn't sound like an agreement.
No, where's the verse that says, and literally nothing else but those things, and they did not spare any of the babies. They totally killed all the babies, because he needs it to be a lot more specific, or he can get out of jail free.
Yeah, because the Amalekites still existed after that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Absolutely.
They destroyed everyone.
Were all of the Amalekites all in one city?
Majority was, yeah. If we would see them in other cities.
The majority was. And so they got that city where the king was, right? And then are there going to be some left?
Yeah, the point was there was literally still a city after that. That's historically true. That there was.
What did they do with that city?
Nothing. Nothing was done with that city after.
Oh, they just leave them alone?
Unless you can tell me.
It might be that the story is just not true. That's an interesting take too. If the city's still there,
where does it show them again?
The stories are inconsistent.
Yeah, I'm saying that's historical.
It may be that it's just made up.
What verse are you talking about where they show up again?
It's historically true that,
like, historically the city's still there and it wasn't destroyed by the Hebrews, and so the story's probably fake. Yeah,
Amalek,
or they just destroyed a specific city. And
where's Amalek?
What do you mean, where is Amalek? I'm saying that in the back in the, what is it, like?
Well, then I guess in that,
1200 BC?
if you're saying that they just destroyed one city, then it makes sense that they would appear later and still have killed all the children. So that,
yeah, how would that follow? And what way would that follow?
well, you're saying that how do they follow it completely if there were still Amalekites? And it's like, well, they would have just destroyed that one city and killed all the children there and did what the Lord had said, as it says in the passage, and then there were other Amalekites from another city.
Yeah, again, the entire point is, though, if there was Amalekites in another city, you would have to show me that they actually went to this other city and did that as well.
Yeah, so
no,
when did they show back up in
that.
the Bible is what I'm trying to
No, but I'm talking about in history. They didn't talk about the other city in the Bible. I'm talking about
they do show back up in the Bible.
No, bro, you can say it did, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about historically. But that's fine if you want to say that. That's okay with me. Like,
yeah, let's see.
I would agree with that. It would just show that history is being true. That's fine. Like, it just proves my point even more.
Yeah, I just want to see, because someone brought this up to me once before, and I want to see where it is. But, this has them all over the place. There was another thing where David has to deal with them. Is Judges before Samuel or after Joel?
I have no idea.
I think it's comes before.
I think it's before.
Let me try this. Okay, let's see here. Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, they show up, Deuteronomy, Judges, Samuel. Yeah. What's going to be the last one? 2 Samuel. I've looked into this before. It's interesting. The way that I've heard it described, and I don't know if this is true, is that they just like if now we said, go get all of the British and they basically got London and like took down the crown and all the babies and sheep and stuff, except for a few, of course. And then there's still going to be British people around other cities. Now, the Amalekite Empire was not nearly as big as that, but that there was other groups of them around, and so they occasionally came back and showed up and did stuff. Let's see, 2 Samuel 1:16.
I'd also like Nick to show some sort of evidence or something that tells us historically that the city of Amalek still existed. Like, what's your claim there?
That the Amalekites still existed after, or they still exist?
No, I know that the Bible we're looking at a Bible verse, but you said historically, so you mentioned history, tells us that the city still stood after this or something? Didn't you say something like that?
Yes, because they were not extinct in that city until the second half of Hezekiah's reign.
So it's not historical, it's biblical, you mean?
No, that's going to be historical too. You want me to show you historians that aren't?
Yeah, like show me history of where the Amalekites lived, or that they existed, or something. Like,
you
where
don't think
do we
the
have?
Amalekites existed?
I'm asking for some. What are you saying?
I'm confused. Wait, do you want me to show you just the Amalekites existed in history?
I thought that's what you said, that historically some sort of city of Amalek or something existed. And
here's a verse about the descendants of Simeon. So this is in First Chronicles, and I don't know what this says yet. This might cook me, Joel. This is a little risky here, but we might get cooked here on this one. Let's see what it is. I have no idea. This is going down a lineage here. Meshoab, Jamelech, Joash, Joshua, son of Amaziah. There's no way I'm going to read all these. They journeyed to the entrance of Gedor to the east side of the valley to seek pasture for their flocks, where they found rich, good pasture, and the land was very broad, quiet, and peaceful, for the former inhabitants there belonged to Ham. Are the Amalekites descendants of Ham? That's interesting.
I think they came from Esau, according to the story.
Grandson.
These
Esau,
registered by name came
one of the Edomite tribes.
Came in the days of King Hezekiah of Judah and attacked their tents and the Munim who were found there and exterminated them to this day and settled in their place, because there was pasture there for their flocks. And some of them, 500 men of the Simeonites, went to Mount Seir, having as their leaders Pelatiah, Neriah, Rephaiah, and Uzziel, sons of Ishi. They destroyed the remnant of the Amalekites who had escaped, and they had lived there to this day. So this other group says there were some Amalekites who had escaped, and they destroyed them.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So they did do the annihilation, but some people were able to run away.
And then they got
destroyed.
It
sounds like both things can be true. Just some of the folks got away.
Yeah, like I said, only that specific city was utterly destroyed. The Amalekites themselves.
Yeah, so where's the other cities of the Amalekites, historically or biblically?
Historically, let me see. They could have existed, I think, technically.
No. Where did they exist, Nick?
I can go to New World Encyclopedia.
Like, we're not going to do maybes. That would be silly. So find us the history. Yeah, do that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, let's see. So which city? Yeah, it's going to be at Rephidim on newworldencyclopedia.org. It's going to be Rephidim.
So
what are you looking at?
I can't hear that. Say that one more time.
Rephidim is the city.
Rephidim? How do you spell that?
Yeah. It's going to be Rephidin.
Reph, okay. It's notable for two events: a miraculous provision of water and a battle with the Amalekites. That's the place where they attacked from?
No, that's where they visited.
Yeah, so this is a biblical place, right? So this isn't
you can actually visit where it was. Like, it's in Egypt.
Okay, so let's look at where it says on Wikipedia the location of Rephidim. One proposal places Rephidim in the West Faran, near the junction of the Wadi Sek. When they leave Rephidim, the Israelites advance to the Sinai wilderness, possibly marching through the passes of the Wadi Solaf. I don't know what that means, but they converge at the entrance to this other plain. Another proposed location for Rephidim is in northwestern Saudi Arabia, north of the town of Al-Bad, the ancient city of Midian. More recent scholarship identifies Rephidim with Wadi Rephaid in the southwest Sinai. So there's a bit of a dispute about where this actually is.
Yeah, we know it existed somewhere. So
Why do we know it existed somewhere?
Yeah, you won't find a single piece of scholarship that say the city didn't exist. Not a single one.
Yeah, but also I see just, and this is just ChatGPT, but it says that the Amalekites probably didn't live in Rephidim.
Right.
They were likely active in a broader desert region, like they were a nomadic tribe.
Advise you not to use ChatGPT because it just.
Well,
Okay, why do you prove that they lived there?
Sorry, the Amalekites attacked the Israelites there. It doesn't say they lived there.
No. That's where they were on the way to. When they went
Who was on the way to?
The Israelites.
They were on the way to Rephidim?
No, while they were on their way, while they were going to, the 40 days and 40 nights, or not the 40 days and 40 nights, but the 40 years in the wilderness, right? Before that, when they were on their way, they met them at Rephidim.
What verse is this? Let's see. I'm curious about this one. This is in Exodus?
Should be. I think it talks about in other places too.
They're crossing the Red Sea, Mount Sinai, Amalek.
So you can go to it starts out like in Exodus 17.
Here we go. From the wilderness of Sin, the whole congregation of the Israelites journeyed by stages as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they are like on their way through, like you're saying, and they stop here to camp, right?
Yeah.
Moses says, "Go on ahead," strikes the rock. Is the Lord not among us? Then Amalek came and fought with Israel at Rephidim. So it says they came there, not that they were there.
They came and fought there, and then that's where they lived.
Where does it say that?
What do you mean? That's what we just read on
It says that's where they lived?
History, yeah.
Where does it say that's where they lived? I didn't miss that.
For an example, I can give you newworldencyclopedia.org that says that.
That's where they lived? I don't know where they're getting that from. How do we know that?
I don't know what. Did they live there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you just want to disagree with the scholars, that's fine.
I want to know what the scholars reason for thinking that is.
Yeah, you'd have to ask them. I ain't going to say what their specific reason is. I'm just giving you the scholarly info. If you could find me a scholar that disagrees, I would love to see it.
Sure, let's see. I just want to see why they think that. Something happened in Numbers at Kadesh, same thing.
But it's on Wikipedia, you said, Nick?
No, I said newworldencyclopedia.org.
Newworldencyclopedia.org.
Mountains where nomads brought camel to drink. When the Israelites traveled to Canaan, they discovered the Amalekites who inhabited the northern Sinai Peninsula and the Negev.
It gives the references on the bottom, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this page here. So this was an oasis, according to this thing here. They're saying that there was an oasis, so a lot of nomadic tribes would come and meet here. The number of nomads living there for millennia remained at a similar level. Yeah, there's a lot of different groups that come in and out of this area, it seems. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if it proves Jesus is real or not, but it's interesting.
I wasn't even arguing for this specific.
Yeah, I know we got way off track, but this is all interesting stuff. All right, Nick. So what do we go over? I think the main thing that I'm going to take away from this that I do really want to look into is how concepts exist outside of minds and what that means. And maybe I could hold to a Platonic look on things. Nick, are you there?
Yeah, I was going to say if you want to.
Hey, Nick, can you hear me? Am I Nick?
No, I guess not. It just started.
Can you hear me, Nick?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. You got me?
Yeah, you started talking over me, so I guess you couldn't hear me.
Oh, yeah. So I thought that you were. I couldn't hear your microphone at first. You were saying something?
Yeah, I was saying that Aristotle.
I actually think that he talked over you. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
He was talking about Aristotle before I started talking.
Okay. So no, I thought you were talking, then he talked, but okay. No, that's my mistake. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So you can do better next time. Sorry. Yeah, I just said you could read Aristotle.
About what?
About learning about the
Amalekites?
Logic.
Who was talking about logic?
You just said I want to learn more about concepts, bro. What?
Oh, so I was talking and then you said that over me?
Bro, what are you talking about? Are you not following the conversation?
I thought I was talking and then you interrupted, but you're saying that you were talking about the thing I was thinking about before I started saying it?
If you didn't already say it yet, then how did I know you were talking about it?
That's what I'm saying. I think I was already saying it, and then you interrupted me and tried to say that I interrupted you.
You stopped midway through, and then I started saying it.
I don't think that's how it happened.
I think it was, but I guess it's subjective.
I'm so sorry I interrupted you with that. You were saying I should.
Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
He just wanted to mention Aristotle, I think. Is that what all you wanted to interrupt for, Nick?
Yeah, he said he wanted to study more, so I'm giving him sources.
You just wanted to, interrupt to say that.
Yeah, I just wanted to give him sources since he wants to learn, Dang.
That's a good source. Aristotle, great source. Thanks for that.
Yes,
so I'll look up who this Aristotle guy is. We'll see about him. And apparently he developed the laws of logic in a written form. Is that what you're going to say, Nick?
No, I'm saying he describes the concepts. No.
How did he figure them out?
Just by looking at nature. You have to read them. He has 10 different categories.
He just looked at nature and then wrote it down. Yeah.
That's the way I thought it would work.
That's what we
look at the way reality
before,
is,
but
and then you just
maybe, you know what, actually, I might have someone who can help me a little bit with this, because I think Danny knows a little bit about this kind of... Lawrence, I didn't mean to bring you up.
Danny can tell you about Aristotle. Absolutely.
Danny, what's the deal with concepts existing outside of the mind? What does that mean?
Well, so there's a debate about whether... you mentioned Platonism, right? Whether there's the realist who thinks that there are abstracta outside of mind, and then there's the anti-realists that either say there are no abstracta or that it's in the mind. But I don't see how that has anything to do with the truth of theism. It seems like atheists themselves disagree on whether abstracta exist outside the mind, or whether they don't exist at all, or whether existence is dependent on the mind. Atheists, amongst ourselves, we disagree about that. But what does it have to do with the existence of God? That's
sure, I can recap for what Nick's kind of argument here, which I've heard before, and I have a lot of different opinions of it, but I do find it interesting. So the idea is that the concept of logic can't exist without something conceptualizing it, without a mind conceptualizing. So before humans existed, the only way that those could have still been true is if a god was thinking it, basically, to make it still be true. That's how where a concept could live, is in the synaptic processes of God's brain or something like that.
Right, and I'm wondering why anyone should accept that. He's presumably talking about propositions. Propositions are things that can be true or false. They're considered abstracta. Why that would need a mind exactly? If they do exist, the nominalist who denies their existence will say something like this. Look, there's statements about math, the statements about astronomy, about logic that are true, and some of them are always going to be true. But absent statements, there are no truths. That doesn't mean that there is no reality, right? So, for example...
That's what we were saying. We were saying reality kind of is just there, and it's doing its thing, and then later we described it and called it the laws of logic. But I don't know, I'm interested.
Phenomenal. The example is, is the statement, there are 8 planets true before their statements? Well, no, there are no statements before that statement, so there's nothing true before, let's say, language, but that doesn't mean that there aren't 8 planets.
Right.
So, but... You might think that that's all wrong, and just
so the other big point that he said is with planets, they exist in a location, but logic doesn't. It doesn't have a place for it to be.
Yeah, so you might be convinced by all that and just say, what's wrong with Platonism? Platonism is compatible with atheism, and I don't see why anyone should accept the premise that abstracta require mind. To me, it's a difficult philosophical issue, but to me, it's completely irrelevant as to whether God exists or not.
Yeah, even if it was required a mind, I don't think you could get to I feel like there's other things that it would require reality, right? It would require reality to be true for logic to exist, right, or to be true. But I don't know if like someone has to think it for it to be true, just for it to like, I don't know if it needs to have a location for it to be true.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you lean towards a nominalist to you, and that's fine. There are atheists that are disagreeing, they're Platonists, but I just don't see, again, how you get a conclusion that there's a God from any of this
Well,
view.
it's Jesus's mind.
Yeah, I would wonder what the argument is for that.
Yeah, we kind of went through it already, but I don't know, Nick. Do you care to rehash it back into this thing? Or also, we've been doing this for like 7 hours, so maybe we should go on to another guest. But it has been nice talking with you.
Okay, it don't matter to me. Whatever you want to do. So if you want me to move on. If not,
yeah, I think we should move on for today. I think it was a good conversation, and I appreciate that you didn't resort to any like terrible tactics that we sometimes hear Christians do. I appreciate a good conversation, and it's been a while since we've had one on here, so I do like that. I do find the idea that logic requires a mind to be confusing to me, because I think a mind requires a brain, so I don't know how to make both of those things exist at the same time. But I don't know. Maybe we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like Danny said, there's arguments on both sides. You could read, one of the things you read if you want to learn about it is you could read like Aquinas' like 5 ways. I think he might talk about the argument there a little bit.
About concepts?
I think he might go into a little bit with the first mover argument.
Oh, I don't think he does at all.
He might. Because he goes into why this thing that exists has to have a mind, or like has to have some sort of will to actualize something. You said what?
The first mover, right? He has arguments outside the first way to show why the first mover is not composed, is simple, and yada yada yada. But the first way doesn't mention abstracta at all.
What do you mean? He doesn't mention like the fact that like this thing has to have some sort of mind, and then. So I'm not talking about just
not in the first way.
Yeah, so I'm not talking about insofar as like logic existing in the mind. I was talking about insofar as this thing actually having a mind.
Yeah, the first way, that argument has its conclusion is that there must be an unmoved mover. There are other arguments outside of the first way that try to establish the nature of that first, the unmoved mover. But
I think he talks about that in the Summa Theologica, though.
Well,
where the 5 ways are.
Yeah, but it's not in the 5 ways.
Yeah, it might not be in the 5 ways, just in the Summa Theologica. Where
he has. I don't think they're any good arguments. I think they're terrible arguments. But is there any argument that specifically says that abstracta require a mind? I'm not aware.
Aquinas? Yeah, I don't know if Aquinas talks about that.
No, from you.
Aristotle might. I don't know though.
As far as arguments for God, for why God must ground abstracta.
He must ground basically all things that have ontology. You could read the categories, and he might talk about that somewhere in there.
Well, I'm not aware of it, but
you read all the categories?
No, I'm not aware of any argument that's of the kind where all things depend on the existence of God. I don't really know if he even considers propositions to exist. I mean, he might, but you would have to direct me where exactly he would say something like propositions exist.
Yeah, I don't think propositions necessarily have ontology in and of themselves either.
Then why do you need logic to?
Logic is composed of propositions.
Yeah, that's where my wires were getting crossed, because one second, Nick, I think that's where like I was like a little bit unsure of what was going on, because if like logic isn't a thing, it's just like a series of concepts via propositions, and if those don't need ontology, then why does logic?
If what doesn't need ontology?
Propositions.
Oh, yeah. So I think that things that would need ontology, that are things that you could even say, in some sense, have causal effect, not necessarily in the sense of like acting in and of themselves, but in the sense that, like, for example, you can't go against like the law of non-contradiction. But like a proposition in and of itself, I don't think would be any grounding or reason why it would have ontology.
Well, but logic is it's a formal system, right? The formal system is constituted in terms of propositions. And now it sounds like you're a nominalist. about propositions?
No, because I don't know. Because I don't believe that the proposition in and of itself is the only thing that constitutes the laws itself. I think the laws itself have an objective reality.
The laws are propositional, right? Laws are propositional, no?
Yeah, the laws are propositional, but I don't
propositions don't exist.
I don't think they're merely propositional though.
Well, then what else are they other than propositions?
Yes, I think the proposition is about describing what the actual thing is itself. So, for example,
that's what we're saying logic is. It's just describing reality.
Yeah,
so
describing reality.
Let's take the law of identity. So I think the law of identity can be stated as A is A, or something like that, equals A. That's a proposition. Now, do you think that the law of identity exists?
Yeah, insofar as the fact is like we think that like, me being like, human, me being myself, there doesn't have to be any sort of like propositional statement, but just knowing that in reality I can't be other than myself.
Yeah, but the point is that
that's what we're saying.
There's a distinction between a state of affair, right, and a logical truth, right? States of affairs have to do with the way things are, whereas logical truths have to do with propositions and statements, right? So logic is not a state of affairs. Right?
You think logic is just merely propositions?
Yes, that's all it is.
So you think that do you think that logic then has ontology or no?
Well, it's hard to know. I don't really take a strong position. I usually just work with my interlocutor, but I'm fine to say that propositions exist. I'm fine to say that they're not. I don't really know for sure. Either way, right?
That'd be weird.
If you don't think propositions exist, and if logic is just a system of propositions, right, then logic doesn't exist, and so God doesn't ground non-existence.
Yeah, I'm just gonna disagree that it's merely propositional. I mean, you could like point me to someone that, like some philosopher that states it's just merely propositional.
As far as I know, I mean, saying logic is fundamentally a formal system, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you Google formal system, like logical formal system, what that system is a set of axioms, theorems maybe, right? Constraint principles, inference rules, all of that is propositional.
Yeah, I get that they're propositional. I'm just saying I don't believe that they're merely propositional because I believe they actually have some sort of
what else do you think there is to a formal system other than constraint principles?
The actual basis in reality itself.
The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy literally calls it propositional logic.
Yeah, propositional. There's different types of logic, but even like modal logic would use like the laws of logic still though. So
wait. So what else is? You said that there's something else to a formal system other than the axioms, right? So I can list what is in a formal system: axioms, maybe theorems, rules of inference / constraint principles. What else is there?
You asking me?
Yeah, because you're saying it's not just that.
Besides that, yeah, just the grounding of reality itself, I would say.
Grounding of reality is not in a formal system. You can now you can just look at the Wikipedia.
You said it's not?
No, there's no source that will say that the constituents of a formal principle is quote unquote grounding reality.
Logic doesn't have grounding in reality?
It's not defined that way in philosophical logic.
I'm just asking you, do you think logic has grounding in reality?
I don't think, it depends on what you mean by grounding. I mean, there might be correspondence relations between statements and states of affairs, and we commonly talk about that kind of relation, and if that's what you mean by grounding, I'm fine with it. But still, that's distinct from what a formal system is, because I can make up a formal system that has no correspondence to any kind of deliberative process or state of affair, right? And it's not even clear that axioms relate to states of affairs. I mean, that would be dubious itself. So, I mean, I'm just saying that you're not going to catch any logician or philosopher of logic saying that formal systems are more than what I just listed, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, again, if these people are going to agree, like, in the sense that you agree that these things have the grounding in reality. Because while they might not define a formal system as this, it doesn't mean that a formal system is necessarily bound to just merely these principles.
Okay, well then this is actually perfect. So there's an equivocation on logic, okay, here. So when we say we hold to logic, right, when me, Mezzo, and Joel, when we say we hold to logic, we just mean we hold to formal systems like classical logic, or it could be something like classical logic, or whatever. We hold to these formal systems, right? We accept the statements, right? And we make inferences based on these axioms and we apply them, right? That's what we mean by logic. if you're saying that there's more to logic than that, there's no reason that we need to add to our ontology any more than what's necessary, right? All we need for logic is that we accept the statements, we accept the axioms, we accept the constraint principles, and then we go along with our thought. And that's it. That's it.
Yeah, so are you going to agree then if you hold to the system that this thing has like actual, like, again, if I say grounding in reality, I'm just meaning like has actual causal effect in the sense that you cannot go against these principles in reality.
Irrational. Like, look, you can say,
guys, I have like 15 more seconds of this before I have to move on. Just to try and close it up. Sorry, it's just.
So I'll let Danny have the last word if you want. It's okay.
Oh no, I would just encourage everyone that to look into what a formal system is. That's all we need to make sense of contingency, necessity, inference, validity, soundness, all of that stuff. That's all we need to make sense of those things. If the theist is bringing anything any more than that, why would we need to accept any more than that? Right now, whether that ontologically commits us to propositions or not doesn't turn the conversation in favor of the theist, and that's all I have to say. And Nick, I think Nick should have the last word, honestly.
Listen, the only last word I'm gonna say is like, I don't know if you want to learn more. I guess Aristotle's a good place to start. We all can learn something new. Aristotle's a good place to start. Like he said, Plato is also good. To learn the different Platonic views, and you could pick a view you want to hold to, right? Plato has like the world of forms view. Aristotle would reject that. You could look at the nominalism view, etc. So that's what I would look into. We can all, look into more stuff.
I might I will say that my headphones are like glitching out. I'm getting like a left-right channel thing happening. I'm trying to find where the disconnect is happening. Sorry. I will say that like I think I feel kind of like Danny, although a lot of this stuff is way over my head. I haven't taken a philosophy class in 20 years, and then I got C's. Back then, I got C's in it anyways. But I will think that I feel like no matter what it ends up being, whether logic has some sort of an ontology and it exists actually as a form of some kind, or it doesn't like neither of those point to like Jesus Christ. Neither of them seem to point to a mind that also created the universe and wants us to do good things to each other and has like a weird telepathic connection with us. Like, I don't see how that gets to religion either way. I think it's fascinating as hell. I really do, which is why I let this go on for so long. I really like this kind of stuff, and I normally make fun of it and move on. But I felt inspired to kind of get intrigued by it a little bit here. So thanks for coming, Nick. I do appreciate you, and come back some other time, all right?
All right, man. You guys take care.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Y'all have a great night.
Danny,
Good to see you,
hold
Danny.
on.